Good morning. It's Market Day Report. I'm Tony St. James. As we get started this morning, we did have some overnight action in the grains, but really what will set the stage will be weekly export sales. So let's see if we can start first with where overnight trade was, and then we'll roll into the export sales after that. Okay, to the big board, and corn in overnight action. September down 3/4 of a penny at 3.80 1/4. The December just a quarter cent above $4, but holding the line and a half penny higher on the session. For soybeans, it was a penny higher on the old crop September, 9.53 1/4. November 9.70 a bushel, penny and a half higher. What about wheat? Will we start the day higher? Well, September, Chicago up 5.37 3/4. I like to look at the July because that will be the new crop. 5.94 1/4, 3.5 higher. Same story for hard red winter wheat. Front month September up 3 1/4, 5.49 1/2, and the July trading 5.90, right in the middle of the trading range of 4 3/4 cents. Now for spring wheat September. New crop, 5.94 3/4, up 2 3/4, and we get 5 to 6 cents higher on the deferreds. What about cotton? Overnight, December, 67.52, up 47 points. Brian Hoops is with Midwest Market Solutions, and Brian, the story, I think, to get things rolling this morning is going to be weekly export sales, and starting with the grains. Corn, disappointing.
Yeah, when you look at the old crop and new crop categories, now there's only a couple weeks left of this old crop, but corn was only 4.7 million bushels. That's a marketing year low. So in that respect, yes, absolutely disappointing. New crop sales were 31.5 million bushels. That was a decent number. Old crop soybeans, at 8.2 million bushels, that is far and away more than what we need to hit the USDA forecast. And since we only have a couple weeks left in that marketing campaign, it really begs that the USDA is probably going to have to raise their export forecast for soybeans in the next supply and demand report. That's a big number, 8.2, when they only need about 1.5. New crop soybeans were very good as well, 49.4 million bushels. China was in for over 19 million of that, and then that unknown destination that is probably going to end up being China was another 17 million bushels. So you had China buying maybe 35, 36 million bushels of soybeans this last week, and very little private sales. Now, there were some private sales earlier this week. We didn't have any yesterday. We didn't have any this morning. So next week's sales, we'll be looking forward, at least a decent number once again for corn and soybean exports. Wheat is just at 14.7. It's nothing exciting. It's where we have been for most of this last marketing year, probably where we will be for most of the next marketing season. In one respect, maybe it's a little disappointing that we're not seeing better sales out of the Pacific Northwest, but it is what it is. It's not going to be a game changer whatsoever, Tony.
Okay, so the market's really reacting to the crop and WASDE reports last week, and we've been wondering, could there be some news other than a weather-related incident to help move markets higher? Does this possibly send some positive signals back to traders?
I think it offers some support to the market, but I don't think it's enough to push us higher. In fact, we rallied corn into resistance overnight, pulled back by the morning hours. It's not a game changer that the trend is going to change back to the upside for corn or soybeans or the wheat market. You're almost going to have something weather related to overcome the expectations that yields will increase again next month in that supply and demand report. You're starting to see a little bit of concerns about weather in the spring wheat belt where they're trying to harvest the crop. There's rains in the forecast once again that's going to not only slow harvest but also cause maybe some concerns about disease and other concerns about the crop. So that's where maybe a weather issue is starting to lie. But across the Midwest, where they still want corn and soybeans, where they still want rain, we're going to get that, and we're not having the excessive temperatures that's going to be detrimental to it. And then you also talked about new crop wheat. We're going to be seeding that new crop wheat in just 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, let's talk a marketing year high and a marketing year low at the same time when we come back and talk livestock with Brian Hoops. Midwest Market Solutions Market Day Report continues after this. Good morning. Hopefully you've had your cup of coffee or are having one with us this morning. Market Day Report continues. And how about livestock futures? Yesterday, live cattle settled 60 higher on the August, 184.60. October, most active at 182.12. Buck 37 higher, trading up near the highs of the day, which hit 182.40 during the session. What about feeders? Buck 42 higher, front month 247.90. September at 244.35. That was 217 higher. And roll out even to January of next year, buck 70 higher for feeders. And hogs, higher across the board. October up 307 at 75.92. The D's $2.50 higher, 67.25. Okay, I tease this. We've got Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions. And Brian, we have a marketing year high and a marketing year low on export sales. What happened?
Well, let's get the bad news out of the way first. Pork sales, marketing year low, only 20.9 million tons of pork sold last week. Disappointing number, of course, and the hog market had staged a really a strong rally yesterday. We might give some of that back based off of this news, but the good news, and we've been talking about good news for the beef complex this entire week. It started on Monday when we had our retail box beef sales coming in at a highest level for 2024. In fact, the highest since going back to May of 23 on a weekly basis. Those are very strong export numbers. That was on Monday, and that gave us positive news to trade higher throughout this week. And now you saw weekly export sales this morning marking your high at 28.1 million tons, almost double what we've seen over the last 4 or 5 weeks. So I think we've hit a price level, and that was at lower levels, that we really stimulated a lot of demand for the beef sector. And now as prices move higher, that demand will probably soften, but it does tell us that there's a lot of consumers that want beef. Maybe they considered it was too high priced at one time, but we found a price level that does stimulate that demand.
Yeah, buyers for beef, South Korea, Japan. South Korea, 11,400 metric tons. Japan, 6,300. China at 4,400. Is it, I know the answer to this, but I'm going to give you a chance. Is it good to see China in on the beef purchases?
Yeah, anytime we talk about exports, we always want to think about where's China, are they in the market? And as they were in soybeans, very important that they're coming into the market and buying U.S. soybean products. They're buying U.S. beef. They typically don't. It's a lot of the Asian countries, other Asian countries that are in there buying. But the fact that China stepped in and bought, I thought was a very key contributor.
And we've had no cash sales that I can find as of yet, really. So. And I think traditionally our Thursday is usually down when we look at the markets. And if that's the case, hang on, we'll see cash sales really develop tomorrow, expecting it to be higher?
Yeah, we're called higher right now. You're right. We haven't seen any cash trade yet. Bids are kind of hard to come by, but we are looking for probably $1 better in the Southern Plains this week once we start that cash trade to develop.
Okay. Brian Hoops is with Midwest Market Solutions. Brian, thanks for having some fun with us in export sales this morning. Okay, I did not mention in all of that, the export sales, sorghum. Now, sorghum has one buyer and has one export customer. I'm looking for my note here. 3,700 metric tons sold to China this past week. That's down 93% from the previous week and down 95% from the 4-week average. But sales and shipments of sorghum have been outstanding over the past year and due to China. So that's a story we'll continue to watch, and hopefully we'll have a little more on that coming up tomorrow.
Good stuff, Tony. Thank you so much. You know, hearing about our exports, obviously, you know, we need to, of course, to help with that trade deficit. So always good to see China back on the board. Gives us some hope, right?
Absolutely.
Doing business.
Glad you mentioned that, because we also get export-import data this morning. We haven't even touched on that, so more news coming.
Great. Thank you so much. Great information.